Okay, so I'm going to provide this video along with the link to this day 16 because as I finished the 146 video of installing Python packages, I realized that I've talked about already in week 5 virtual environments, and I showed kind of a quick way for setting them up. But at this point, for me, I have to. Now, I just want to say if you want to install these packages, it is your choice, but just know I recommend doing it in this virtualized way because I would never install something on my system that because their packages can come from such variety of ways, methods, developers, intentions, most of them good, some of them may not be. I just would like anything like to isolate code on my system. And I was doing a little research about PyCharm and how it does it. And I find it a little interesting she doesn't talk about this here, but I'm like, okay, I got this. I want to show you how to do it. And I thought, well, let me show you how to do it actually in the directory that we're working in right now. So I'm going to move over to VS Code. So right now, this is day 16, okay? And this is the file where we're going to start working in. So what I could do is just create the directory here. So if you want to know, I've also provided in my public repo, just under the root directory, it's called how to, and then it walks through the steps. So the first thing we want to do is to create a new inside of a folder. Um, Oh, okay, yeah, so it took me a minute to remember. So this command right here, this is the folder name it's going to give it in whatever folder you're currently in, okay? And I believe, and let me just check this, which Python is let me increase this font just a little bit. So I'm going to do some of the work here, and then I'm going to get out of VS Code and run it once I'm in the virtual environment. Now, I actually also thought about I could just create a virtual environment for this whole 100 days, and I might do that just to kind of do that. But anyway, I could, but I'm not going to for this one. So in this case, I think I could just do Python. And actually, here's the key too, is I want to be in that folder. So I'm going to go ahead and say open the integrated terminal in that folder. Okay. And then I'm going to use Python because I don't think I need Python 3-m. venv is the virtual environment name. And now comes the name you want to give it. Now, for me, I'm just going to call it demo. Now, before when I did this, I called it venv as well. So, and I see that kind of shorthand sometimes, calling the directory the same as the command, but just to make it clear this time, I'm going to go ahead and do that. So what happens is my system now, and you can see this, it created a folder, and inside of that folder is the bin. Now in this case, Python version is going to be 3.8.3. So what it did is now put Python and the setup files for Python into this folder. Okay, that is demo under where my code is going to be, where I'm going to write reference libraries. Okay, so that's the first thing. Now I am going to add the get ignore. Now where do I add that get ignore and why am I adding the get ignore? So the get ignore would go at this demo level, and I would add a .get ignore. Okay, and then I would just put in here everything, I think. Let's see if that's right. Yeah, now notice what happens here is that as soon as I do that, these go gray, which means they're no longer being, the version control is going to ignore that. Okay, so now that is set up. I have my get ignore in place, right? And now what I want to do is I want to install a library. So I'm going to install the one that she mentions in here. I can install both, but I think what I'll do is just install, I think she did pretty tables. So Python pretty, oh, actually, before I do that, but that's okay. Pretty table, I think is the one she was talking about, pretty table Python. So here is the command. Now, I'm not going to do this command yet okay? Because I haven't actually activated the virtual environment, and that's where I skipped over this step right here, but I shouldn't have because it's really important. Okay, so I'm going to show you how I'm going to do this. You could, this is just my demonstration. So the first thing is I'm going to do is I'm going to get out of VS Code. I'm going to open for me terminal. For you, you know, on Windows, you guys have an equivalent. It's funny that I don't even remember the name of it right now, but LS, and then mine is NCIT. Actually, it's NFCC, if I remember right. Yeah, and then CIT95. Yep, and then Rio private, and then 100 days, and then day 16. Okay, let me just clear that. So now I'm in here, right, in this directory. And so what I want to do is actually I want to go into demo, I think. Let's just try this. And now I'm going to run this. So what this does is it activates the environment. It activates the virtual environment. And what you will see, and I believe you will see this on yours as well. So what it's doing is it's saying, hey, go in and I need to modify this. Oh, I'm glad I saw this. So notice what it's looking for. It's saying source is telling it find this source file in the dir name. So mine dir name is demo. And then it says find the bin and then run the activate. So what I actually needed to do here was back up one directory, okay, for there. And then in my directory name, it would be demo. And you can name these whatever you want. I don't need two of them. So what will happen here, um, for me, I have mine, and actually this came from me installing another package that I need to get rid of for machine learning. Anaconda, which I don't love, but different topic. So as soon as I hit enter here, what happens is it changes the prompt to show me that I'm in the demo directory, but really I'm in the demo virtual environment. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to type code and then period, which says run code from this current directory. Okay. And when I do that, it opens VS Code, and it also then I am in that environment now. Okay, notice that demo is here, right? So now if I go to terminal and I say terminal and I say now I'm ready to install. I'm going to actually leave this for something I noticed later. If you watch my other video, you'll remember why I'm doing this. I'm going to copy, I already did, but copy because I'm going to install pretty table. Well, by the way, this would be the same for the other directory, the other package as well. So I'm going to paste it. So what's going to happen is I'm going to install pip. I'm going to do a pip, which is a Python install package manager or something. We have equivalent on node site install and then the name of the package. And what I've done by setting up the demo directory and activated it is I've isolated my setup with Python to say really only this is a self-contained world. And I say that with air quotes. And now whatever you install only installs in this folder in this environment. And so then whenever I don't want to use it, right, I can just blow it away, which I would do. But let me go ahead and just run this. Okay. Cool. Right. So it installed the package. Now, in this case, if I clear real quick, right, I'm going to show you if you go down and look in the bin. Actually, it's in the library, probably. Yeah. Here is pretty table. So it installed it into this library. And now what you can do here is now in your 145 follow along with what Angela is doing. Okay, you can do the imports of the pretty table. You should be fine. I don't even know, you know, whatever that is. But if you, again, I can't make you do it anyway. I'm just going to tell you the way I'm going to do it. And the reason why this is also important is if you want to include packages in your dev1, you need to do this isolation of virtual environments. Okay. All right. So for now, I'm going to go ahead and get out because I should be able to write my code in that isolated environment. I should be good to go. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is just go ahead and exit out of VS Code. I'm going to come back over here, right? I've already installed my libraries. And this is the part that once I want to have somebody else download my code, I'd want to do this step. And for the case that I am in right now, I don't need to do that because I'm not having any of you do it. But if you were doing it for your dev one, you would need to do it. So now what I'm going to do is deactivate this environment. Okay. And the reason I left my terminal open here is I'm just going to run deactivate because again, this terminal is set up to be that virtualized environment. And as soon as I do that, you can see the prompt goes back to removing the demo. And now I can just close out of here. And now I'm going to open up my VS Code again, regular way of opening it up. And then I'm going to come down here. I'm going to open up my private the way I normally do it. And notice that all that directory stuff is there, right? But if I open at this point that import, it should error out. Should error out. Oh, look at this. Oh, this is interesting. So this is really interesting because VS Code, even though I told the terminal, I actually need to deactivate here. Look at that. Okay, now let's close this file and reopen it. Okay, let's actually just do it here. Close it again. It's always a few little, you got to just work it out, kind of figure out what that looks like in your particular setup. Oh, it's still there. Oh, look at this. Oh, wow. It's actually, this is something I actually had tried to do before. Interesting. So what's happened, and this actually just came into Python because I mean, VS Code, because I tried to make this happen at one point before. So actually, I think what I'll do is kind of take it back to a regular, and this is selecting, oh yeah, and then that fixed it. Oh yeah, so this is something I tried to get VS Code to do before, which was allow me just to select the interpreter, meaning where Python is located. And it looks like from before, I couldn't do it. Now it is there for whatever reason, something that I had done, but you can still. So I guess and this is why it's good because you learn stuff when you try things like this and you realize that. And the reason I was trying to show you this is now that I don't have the virtualized, that's interesting. Let's get rid of that and go back to terminal. It should be there. It should be gone. Yeah, so we're back to the base. Again, this is just a way to kind of help you understand if you are in a virtual environment, know what it's supposed to normally say in your environment, and you'll understand that. But the reason pretty table doesn't work or doesn't allow import is that because it's isolated in here and my system is not looking at that isolated virtual environment. But since we're here, let's just see if we can do it this way. If I click here, close my terminal. Oh, look at that. It does work better that way. Oh, very nice. And if I come into yep, well, look at there. That's the way it should have worked. I tried to get it to work like that for a while, and for some reason it would not. So that's an easier way than getting out of VS Code, what I showed you before. So now my terminal is there, and now I'm going to actually go back to here, close this out, and then I'm back to a regular environment. Okay. Okay, so what I've shown you here is basically just the developer steps, okay? And now when I push my code, okay, which I will do before I write this, right? So this is what I showed on the other video. Anaconda, okay. Oh, it's the anaconda. That conda thing is messing me up. I got to get rid of that stuff. See, that's why I don't like installing things. I want an isolated environment to do it in. Totally made my point for me right there. Okay, so let me just show you this last piece, which is I'm going to open this directory, right? And I'm going to say git add star, git commit, adding v124.py with import. And I'm just gonna put that in there. Cool. And so because I've done this git ignore, when I go, this whole grayed out is that git ignore is saying don't version control these things. And then when you go to push, okay, It does not push that, which is what you want. You don't want it to push that out to the your version control source, because you just don't, because you want a user to be able to install that for themselves. And so again, you won't see this directory, but if I go into 100 days, I go into day 16, then what happens is I see that file, but I don't see any of that other demo structure, because that's the whole thing of ignoring it. Okay. Okay. I hope this helps you out about walking through at least this part right here. So I think it's a good time to cover this, because I've kind of covered it before and talked about it. But for me, I can't make you do it for your own setup, but if you're doing it for, I'm going to repeat myself, for the dev work, you have to do it, because I will not install libraries that I can't isolate. All right. Thanks. Hope this helps. Can carry on.